Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today I'm sharing with you my diary entry for the week of August 18th through the 24th. Today is Saturday, August 24th. So this week was an okay week. I think that's really the best way to sum up what this week was. So I did get a little bit of reading done, I got a little bit of knitting done, and we also continued to watch more Olympics. So I guess we'll start with what I have finished reading. And we'll do my Yarnie update, and then we'll do a little bit of chat at the end, so let's get into it. Our manga club meeting was this past week, so I had to focus my reading on those selections. So I just got finished filming my Moniker Manga Club series first impressions for the two first in the series selections, which was Mao, Volume 1 by Rumiko Takahashi. This one's published by Viz Rated Older Teen. I showed this one to you last week because I finished it on that Saturday. And then we read Volume 1 of The Valiant Must Fall by Aida. This one is published by 7Seas, rated older teen. So if you want to hear my thoughts on both of these volumes, you can check out my series first impressions video, which went up on Monday. I will tell you that I rated Mao 4 stars, and I rated The Valiant Must Fall 3.5 stars. So yeah, I really enjoyed discussing these volumes with my members. We also continued our series read of Delicious in Dungeon by reading volumes 11 and 12. This is a story about a group of adventurers who can't really make a living off of what they're doing in the dungeon, and so with no resources, they have no way to continue unless they do something a little different. So they decide to start eating the monsters in the dungeon. So we follow this group of adventurers as they go through the dungeon with a mission in mind and make delicious dishes out of the monsters as they go. This has been a really interesting series. Like I said many times before, I'm really glad that my club was reading this one as a series, because I probably would not have continued past the first volume. But I'm really enjoying watching our group. They really have a feeling of found family, and things are definitely heating up now. We've got 2 volumes left. We'll definitely be finishing this one in September, so I'm really excited to see how this one all ends. There were just a couple things in this one that I didn't really quite care for, and there's a particular character that I haven't really enjoyed from the beginning that is getting kind of a lot of screen time in these volumes, and so that kind of, didn't make these as enjoyable for me, but I'm interested to see like what's going to happen as we end this series. So I still gave both of these volumes 4 stars. I still really enjoy the adventures, and they actually made actual food in this volume, like food that wasn't made out of monsters, and so that was interesting. It's not often that you see non-monster food in these volumes, but there was definitely at least one dish that was non-monster food. And so yeah, really enjoying the series. Looking forward to finishing this one out in September. And then we read volumes 15 and 16 of Assassination Classroom. This one's by Yusei Matsui, published by Viz, rated older teen. Delicious in Dungeon is by Ryoko Kui, published by Yam Press, rated older teen. I always forget that because I don't have the copies here, and I put in the pictures in edit. So yeah, so Assassination Classroom is about this yellow octopus creature who has come and said that he has destroyed a majority of the moon. It's about 3/4 destroyed, so now it's in a permanent crescent, and he says, you know, you've got a certain amount of time to kill me off, otherwise I will destroy the earth. And so he ends up as the teacher of class 3E for this particular high school, and this class is like not really class of misfits, but they're kids that, you know, don't kind of fit the standards of the normal like school. So some of their grades aren't that great. Some of them have issues with learning things the way that the teachers want them to learn them. Some of them do have personality issues, like temper issues, and just overall are like, you know, mean or whatever. So there's a variety of different types of students in this class, but for the most part, they're kind of the lower class of students as far as the main campus has viewed them. And so they're kind of all in this class together, and they are tasked with assassinating Koro Sensei. And so we follow this class as they journey through learning techniques and things to try to kill their teacher. And as they do that, they're also learning how to learn from this teacher, learning different techniques that they can use to learn, and also just in general learning. And so it's been a really interesting series. I've had experience with this series before. I've watched most of the anime, but I've never finished. As we get towards the end, I'm getting really nervous because I only see one way that this series can end. And for me, that immediately says that this is going to be a sad ending. And I know that my daughter has read through the entirety of the series before, and she was crying. And I don't like to read things that make me emotional if I'm not in the headspace to do that. So I'm not quite sure like how this is going to affect me, but as of right now, I'm like kind of bracing for sadness. But I really enjoyed these volumes. These volumes brought backstory on Koro Sensei. It also brought us backstory on Principal Asano, and some backstory on one of the students that we haven't really spent a lot of time with in this series. So lots of interesting information came up in these volumes, and I'm really looking forward to continuing. So I ended up giving both of these volumes 4.5 stars, and I'm looking forward, well, kind of looking forward to seeing how this one is all going to end. I'm not looking forward to what I think is going to be a very sad and emotional ending, but at least I think I have enough time to prepare for that. So yes, enjoyed that. Really enjoyed touching base with my members. We had a really good discussion on our volumes. There were kind of surprisingly a lot of things to talk about with the things that we had read this month. So yeah, it was really nice. We did some manga shopping afterwards, so you'll get to see some of that with my haul in September. But other than that, I did finish one novel, and that was 86 Volume 2. This one is by Asato, illustrated by Shirabii, and mechanical design by 1-4. This one is published by Yen On, ages 16 and up, so that is teen. So this is that story about a world where this country has 85 districts, and they are kind of fighting a war with this mechanical army that are known as Legion. And the government has told their districts that they're able to fight this war without any casualties because they've come up with a way to have their mecha units be piloted not by people but like mechanically, and the Legion are kind of the same way. There's no human people inside. They're like AI driven units. And so, you know, the people in the districts are like very happy about the fact that they're able to fight this war that they're in without having casualty. However, what society doesn't know is that there is an 86th division, and the people that are in that 86th division are the ones that are out there piloting the country's mecha units, and there is mass casualties of 86. And so The story kind of follows this one particular group of 86 that's being headed by a commander in District 1 whose name is Lena, and she thinks that she's different from the rest of all of the people in their society because she doesn't hold prejudices towards the 86, and she doesn't see them as being the lowest of the low or whatever. Now, mind you, only certain people know the 86 exist, but she thinks that she's different from them. In any case, her little squadron decides to put her in her place, and so she starts to learn about, her prejudices that she has against 86, and tries to change those while she helps her unit fight and survive against the Legion. And so that's kind of what encompasses the first volume. In this volume, we're following our squadron again in the aftermath of what had happened at the end of the first volume. If you watch the anime, this encompasses part of season 2. So I've watched already both season 1 and season 2 of the anime. Really, really enjoyed it. I do like the way that the anime is laid out as far as the timeline goes, a little better than how we're laid out in this story, because we are jumping back and forth in the timeline in the light novel as opposed to when we were watching the anime. It felt a little bit more fluid. And so, yeah, I still really, really enjoyed the story. The anime follows the light novel almost to a T. At least, other than the whole layout of events, the things that happen are the same. So, really enjoyed that. In fact, I think the anime probably gives a little bit more to kind of flesh out some of the side characters so you get to know them a little bit better. But I still think that this was a really, really enjoyable read. I was not surprised by anything because I was already familiar with everything that had happened in this one. And so I presume that the next volume will also be things that I already know, since we didn't get through the entirety of what I've already watched in season 2. But yes, really, really enjoyed this series. If you like mecha war type stories, I think you'd really enjoy this one. And so, yeah, there are nice illustrations in here. There are illustrations like this, and then there's also mechanical design of the units that our groups are using and piloting and things like that. It's a really interesting world, and I'm really, really enjoying this series. I'm looking forward to continuing with this one. I gave this one 4 stars. I listened to a majority of it on audiobook, but I did combo read a little bit of it physically as well. The audiobook is narrated by 2 of the voice actors from the anime, so that's really great as well, and I highly recommend both. So really enjoyed that one, looking forward to continuing. And so that is everything that I finished reading this week. So that brings me to what I am currently reading. So because I finished 86, I did have to start a new audiobook, so I decided to go ahead and read Fearless Magic, which is the 3rd book in the Starcross series by Rachel Higginson. This is a story that follows a girl who doesn't seem to understand why every school that she ends up going to has something catastrophic happen to it. And catastrophic, I mean the school collapses, there's real bad physical damage to the buildings, just some weird things happen, and she, for whatever reason, can't ever remember when it starts or anything, because she always blacks out at that time. So now she's on her last chance. She is put in this school, and she's only got a few more months left to go, and she's just trying to keep her head down and be anonymous. And that's when she finds out that the reason that all of these schools have been damaged is because she has magic, and it's magic that she doesn't know how to control. It's magic she didn't even know she had. And so she's in this whole new world now where she's learning about her magic. She's learning how to control it, what she can do with that magic, and her family that she didn't really know about either. So we're kind of following her as she's learning all of this. Plus, in this world, there is royalty in regards to the magical society, and so there's some politics involved. And when there's politics involved, there's usually a group that wants to go against the regime, and so we've got some of that as well. It's a really, really interesting story, but there's also like a teen romance woven in between it. So I have been enjoying this series, but I have to roll my eyes a lot with our main character, because a lot of the times the decisions she makes just seem really, really dumb. And I know that this is like, a teen book. It's meant for teens, and I am way past that age range. But I think even if I had read the volumes that I did read of this series when I was a teen, I would still have rolled my eyes at the decisions that she makes, because they just seem so not smart. But in any case, I decided to go ahead and pick up the third one. Something happened at the end of the second installment, that like changes everything. And so now we're kind of in a more adventure-y feeling type story at the moment. The stakes are high right now also. And so it's definitely got a little bit of a different feel from the first and second installments. But at the same time, I'm still having like eye-rolling moments with our main character, because again, she's still making decisions that make me say, what are you doing? Like, why are you feeling like this? And so yeah, I'm curious to see where this is going to go. I'm definitely rooting more for the second lead. And I usually do. With most stories, if there's some kind of love triangle, I'm usually more inclined to like the second lead than the main. And it's definitely happening in this story as well. But for right now, where we are, the romance isn't like the main point of the story. So I'm enjoying it a lot more, because we're kind of more in that like adventure-y thing. Stakes are high, and yeah, there's a lot of other things going on that make it so that the romance storyline can't really stick out, I guess. But yeah, enjoying what I've read so far. I'm about 50%, I think, maybe a little bit less. I'm listening to this one on audio because it's part of the Audible Plus subscription, and I don't actually have a digital copy of this one. So I'm kind of having to gauge it, because Audible doesn't tell you what percentage you're at, but I'm about halfway through. And so things are interesting. Something happened where things are starting to pick up right now. Like, there's kind of a sense of urgency at the moment with the story. So I'm enjoying it, and we'll continue with that one this week. I don't think that it's going to take me the entire week to finish it, so I'll be on the lookout for another audiobook after that. And then the other book that I'm currently reading is Eruption by Michael Crichton and James Patterson. So I am on chapter 75, page 310. So I've only got a little bit left to go, and I do anticipate finishing this week. So this is a story about a group of scientists, and they have come to realize that there's going to be an eruption of a volcano in Hawaii on the Big Island. And while that is scary in itself, the military has been hiding a secret that would put the population of the Big Island, if not the world, in jeopardy. And so we kind of follow the happenings of our group of scientists and the military kind of working together to figure out how to handle the situation that is about to occur. So I ranted a lot about this volume last week. What you heard me say in last week's episode was edited down a lot. I actually ranted for quite a while, and I cut a lot of it out. So if you thought I ranted for a long time, I actually ranted for a lot longer than what you saw. But yeah, I mean, I'm still having the same issues that I had last week. However, in the section that I read this week, we were dealing with mostly the military and the scientists, most of who are white. And so I didn't mind that they weren't speaking like locals because we weren't dealing with locals. There was one part in here where we were dealing with locals, and for the very first time there was the inclusion of Pidgin English. So while there was that inclusion, for me, when I read it, it wasn't used correctly. The way that it was inserted was very strange, and the word that they decided to use wasn't how I would have said it if I was living back home. But in speaking with my mom about it, she said when she was growing up, that's how they would say it. So generationally, this made more sense to her because that's how they had said things when she was growing up. But that's not how they said things when I was growing up. So it was different for me. And I thought, oh my gosh, what idiots, they used it wrong. Like, they finally go ahead and use the Pidgin and they used it wrong. But in actuality, it's not wrong because that's how it was said before my time. But we're talking about modern day here. So technically, it should be how it's said now, not back when my mom was a kid. So it's kind of weird. Like I said, I don't know when Michael Crichton had started writing this story. I don't know where James Patterson picked it up or what he changed of what Michael Crichton did write. But it's just weird to me. Like, I'm sure if I wasn't someone from the islands, I wouldn't have a problem with this at all. But because of my history, because I was born and raised there, I'm having an issue. So it's okay. I'm still really enjoying all the scientific stuff, and there's little issues happening between groups of people who are trying to decide what's the best way to handle the situation with the impending eruption. And when we're not dealing with locals, I can read it fine. But once you start including locals who speak perfect English, who are just civilians, that's when things start to grate on my nerves. So for the most part, like I said, the part that I read this week was mostly just the military and the white scientist dude. And so the language stuff didn't bother me, except for that one little part with the locals and then what I'm considering misuse of Pidgin English, or not the correct phrasing or word or whatever. And so, yeah, I'm still really interested to see what's going to happen as we get towards the end of this. So, yeah, I still think it's only going to get 3 stars, but we will see. We will see. So that's everything that I've read this week. I'm not sure what I'm feeling like reading after I finish what I currently have going, but I think I'm just gonna decide in the moment. It's been working well for me not having a set TBR, and so I'm just gonna kind of continue just reading what I want. Not that it's increasing my ratings at all. I still kind of feel like I'm struggling with what I'm picking up not being as enjoyable as I thought. I mean, look what happened with Ghost Station last week. Now we've got Eruption this week. And so, yeah, it seems to be more on the novel side where I'm picking stuff up that I'm not quite jiving with. And not that I'm not enjoying it. They're like not getting 2 stars. I mean, I did DNF Ghost Station, but it's like okay. They're average for me, and I'm really wanting something that's like excellent, something that I can really like sink my teeth in and be like, oh my gosh, this is such a great book. I want to read some more right away, and I haven't had that feeling for a while. And so yeah, I'm not quite sure, but we're getting towards spooky season, and I really love spooky season for reading, so we'll see how that goes. But anyway, we're going to close off the section about the books now. Let's talk about some knitting. So to start off my Yarnie update, we'll do what I showed in the thumbnail, which is a new cast on. This is a sock, another sock. This is just a plain vanilla sock, 2x2 rib, 56 stitches on my 9-inch circular needle. The reason I started this sock is because the colorway on this is the Anime Yarn Club from Hawari Bazaar, which is Delicious in Dungeon. So this is Walking Mushroom and Scorpion Pie. Actually, I'm not quite sure. I think this colorway is called Walking Mushroom, and I think the coordinating mini is called Scorpion Pie, but I'm not sure. This might be Walking Mushroom. In any case, it was a sock set. It's called Walking Mushroom and Scorpion Pie from Delicious in Dungeon, which I told you earlier that we are finishing in September. So I really want my daughter to have these socks to wear at our last meeting, because I'd like one of us at least to have the socks. And I went ahead with my daughter's because hers will be faster. And so I just have the leg right now. I am at where the heel is going to go in. So she's going to get a coordinating heel. And then the rest of her sock is just going to be the Walking Mushroom or Scorpion Pie, whatever this colorway is, for the rest of the sock. And then I will get matching heels and toes. So I'm right at where the heel is going to go in. So I'll do that sometime soon. But yes, this is Hawari Bazaar's yarn in her Nova sock base, which is a 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon fingering weight yarn. That's what it looks like caked up. And so yeah, had to get a move on that because I don't have a lot of time if we want a pair of socks to be done by the time we talk about the last 2 volumes of Delicious in Dungeon. So I've been housing that one in the Competo bag, so I kind of decided that this was going to be our Anime Yarn Club sock bag. And so I also have in here her portion of the Demon Slayer sock set. So she will eventually be getting socks in this set as well. So that is the first project that I have been working on. And then the second project was really spontaneous for me. I've got it in my Labyrinth bag. This is a bag that my mom made for me. You can see all of the characters from Labyrinth. In this bag, I decided that I really wanted to work a cable project. I think I had mentioned it a couple episodes ago that I've been seeing a lot of podcasters that I follow do cable projects lately, and it's just like one of those things that every once in a while I really want to work on a really hefty like cable project, and I have too many like outstanding whips right now. I could not just justify me casting on a fully cabled sweater, even though that's really what I want to do. Plus, it's still way too hot for that. Like I can't have a blanket on my lap yet. We were over 100 this week, and so it's definitely not cool enough to be working on a nice full woolly sweater with tons of cables. And so I thought about what I could do as far as a cabled project, and I didn't want to cast on another pair of socks because I have so many socks on the needles right now, and I don't particularly enjoy doing cables on socks. They get really fiddly because you're working with really small needles and the stitches are so tiny, and it gets it's a lot more like intensive for me when I'm doing cables on socks. And I didn't want to do a fully cabled sock either, plus the amount of socks I still have on the needle. Plus I added another one this week. I really need to pare down the number of socks that I am currently working on. So no cable socks. So I thought, what can I do that incorporates cables but isn't like a super huge project? And I decided on a mitten. Now, I don't really use mittens a lot. For me, it doesn't really get all that cold enough here where I need them. But sometimes it does. Especially if I'm going somewhere special, I'm going to be outside during the winter, I could use a pair of mittens. So I thought, you know what, that's a great idea. So I have one mitten. So I finished this mitten this week. I cast it on and finished it. This is a longer mitten, and then it's got seed stitch on the back. So this is the right side mitten. This pattern is called Emma's Mittens. It's by Minh Hoang, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. So you can see it's got a central cable in the middle. You've got cables both on this side as well as this side and in the middle, kind of these little plant-like twigs, and then you've got baubles as well. So this was a really speedy, pretty easy project. I will put this on even though it's ultra hot still, and let you see what it looks like on. So for me, it kind of comes pretty low down, which is good because that's something that I like on my mittens. And then the thumb here is perfect. It's right at the end of my thumb. There is a little bit of room up here for me though. I would say my finger is like here at the end. So I've got a little bit of room, but it fits well. I'm very happy with this. And I think it looks great. And so, yeah, I pulled this yarn out of stash. This is Patton's Classic Wool. So this is a wool that I had gotten from Joann's many years ago. This is a dark gray mix color. So this is a worsted weight yarn. I think it's 100% wool. Yeah, 100% pure new wool. This is 100 grams and 192 meters, 210 yards. So I had a partial skein of this, which I used for this one mitten, and then I'm going to use this for the second mitten. And so, yeah, really interesting and pretty easy pattern. I definitely would recommend it if you're looking for a cable project to work on or would like some long mittens. It was pretty straightforward. The only issue I kind of had was with the very last row of decreases. The way that the decreases were done didn't really make sense to me, so I kind of just did what made sense to me in my head instead, and it turned out fine. Like, it looks fine. I did these on a magic loop, so I had all of these stitches on one needle, and then I had all of these stitches on the other needle. And yeah, it was a really fast project. It was an 8-row repeat. The baubles are worked a little bit differently than I'm used to. I'm used to a much more substantial bauble with more fabric, but this bauble was a 3-row bauble, so they're kind of tiny. And then I actually went and watched Vine's How to Make Your Baubles Pop tutorial, because they weren't sticking off of the fabric enough for me. And so I applied what I had learned from that tutorial to my baubles here, and they look great. These baubles look great, and even though they're like not very substantial with the fabric baubles, I think they look good. So I'm very, very happy with this. The stitch definition looks good. And so yeah, I did actually forget to cross this one right here. This one. So I got to this one and I was like, where's the cross? So I had to drop down and fix that one. But it looks good. I'm really, really happy with this. So maybe you'll see a finished object next week. Not sure, but this has been a really, really like easy thing to work on for me while I'm watching the Olympics still. And it gave my brain enough of what I needed to like just kind of de-stress, I guess. I needed something more than just plain stockinette, because I was kind of stewing in my feelings after what had happened last week at work and with things that had happened this week at work. And this gave my brain enough to think about and kind of keep my concentration on. And I'm very happy with these. These are going to be great. And so, yeah, one mitten. Haven't cast on the next one. I just finished these yesterday. And I'm very, very happy with these. So, yeah, really, really love that. I will say, though, cables always give me pain. Like physical pain. So I had pain in my elbow here for a couple of days. I did take one day off once I started feeling that pain. And that was enough for me to be able to come back to this project pain-free. So just something that I personally need to be aware of when I'm doing cables, but I really, really loved working on this. So another reason that I wanted to work on a cable project was I got a new cable needle, and so I guess that'll bring us to like an acquisition section, which I totally forgot to mention at the beginning of this video. I do have some acquisitions of the Yarnie nature, and so one of those things is a new cable needle. So I've been watching the Nerdy Knitting podcast. I've just been introduced to that podcast, and she was talking about these circular cable needles, and I thought, oh, I've never seen that before, so I decided to go ahead and try it out. Apparently a lot of people like using these now. So I was able to use this on my mitten project, and I have to say that I'm not inclined to pick this one up as my like primary cable needle. I did have my normal standard cable needle while I was working alongside this one, and I tried to use this, but more often than not I would still pick up my other cable needle. So I do find that this type of cable needle for me works great when you have hold in front stitches, but when it comes to hold in back stitches, this is too big. It's too big to not be fiddly, especially because I'm a continental knitter most of the time. Unless my gauge is off, then I will knit English style if that will help my gauge. But most often than not, I'm a continental knitter. And when you're knitting continental and you're using a big old cable like this, for me, it constantly got in the way. I had to constantly readjust how I was holding things. And even like knitting a little bit in English style when I was cabling, which I did actually quite a lot during the work of this mitten, because the baubles, I ended up actually having to knit English style. Just because if you know how to work a bauble, you know that you do a row front and then you turn it around and you purl it back, right? But I decided that I wasn't going to do that, and I taught myself how to knit backwards. So this was my first experiment with knitting backwards on these baubles, and so yeah, I did quite a bit of English style knitting with this, but most of this is continental. Anyway, this needle is great for in the front holds on cables, but not in the back. There's just too much. It's too long. Like, I actually like a really, really short cable needle. So like one that's like this long, but they don't make them like that. So I actually have what looks like a really thick toothpick. It looks like a really thick toothpick. And I prefer the straight kind of cable needle that's on the shorter side. I still haven't found one that I really, really love, but I have a couple that are just straight toothpick style, and that's my preferred type of cable needle. And so I found myself grabbing more towards my normal cable needle than this one for in the back, hold in the back stitch. But if it was just hold in the front, I would pick this one up. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just holding it weird. I'm not using it right. I don't know. I need to go and look at some like videos and see if there's like some people using this so I can see how they do it. But for me, this is very fiddly for hold in the back. Let me know what your preferred type of cable needle is. I would really love to know. But yeah, I had that. And then Hawari Bazaar. I did not pick up their anime yarn club for the month of August. But she had an update where she was just doing some other colorways, like not anime or BTS or Sailor Moon or K-pop inspired. And she had put this one up on her Instagram, and I immediately knew that I had to purchase it. And so this one is called Deep Ocean of Secrets, and it's based on Titanic, or it's inspired by. So this is a colorway. Totally my type of colors. This is on her Nova sock base, which is a sock base I always get. 75% merino, 25% nylon. It's superwash merino. This is 463 yards, 100 grams. So you can see it's a very tonal turquoisey color with some like periwinkle blue and more brighter turquoise shades, and there's a little bit of speckling in there as well. So yes, Deep Ocean of Secrets. And I believe the line in the movie goes, a woman's heart is a deep ocean of secrets. And I think it comes at the end of the movie. So yes, had to pick it up. But because I was picking up a skein of yarn, I didn't want it to travel alone. And so I picked up one of her tape measures in the turquoise. So it's a self-winding tape measure. So really, really handy thing to have around. You can never have too many of those. And then I got a stitch marker that's like a frosted glass star. Really, really pretty. And then I got a prismatic moon. And that probably is like for her like more Sailor Moon type things, but I thought that was really pretty. And so, yeah, I got those. And so that pretty much wraps up our Yarnie section of this episode. And so I guess that brings me to what we've been watching. So our regular Korean variety shows have come back this week. So we watched Running Man and 2 Days and One Nights this week, and then we continue to watch Olympics. So Running Man is actually having some Olympians on their show next week, and we knew that from the previews that at least 2 of the Olympians were fencers. So we started watching the fencing, and it's interesting. I haven't really watched fencing before. I've read the comic Fence, a couple volumes, and I'm enjoying that, but they don't really show a lot of fencing or teach you a lot about fencing, so I've been learning a lot about fencing over this last week, and I realized that I don't really enjoy the épée type of fencing. We've only watched women's épée, though. I haven't watched men's yet. But I have found that between the épée and the saber, that I really, really enjoy the saber more. there's just different rules and regs on the different types of fencing. We haven't yet watched the foil type fencing. I think we might do that tonight. But it's been really, really interesting and kind of pretty exciting. I mean, there's a lot of like interjections done once calls are made, and lots of like, can you please check this type of things, which is interesting. Kind of how the reactions are made once people think that they've scored, or maybe they haven't scored. I've been finding it kind of funny because some of the people that we've watched have actually thrown little tantrums on stage. I think they call it the pissed. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'm learning a lot about fencing, and I'm excited to watch more and learn more about the sport. So that's great. I don't foresee we're going to be able to move on to any other sports for a little bit, because the fencing matches were actually quite long. Like the foil, I think, is like 4 hours. So yeah, I'm very intrigued though. It's been very interesting, and so I'm looking forward to it. And that's pretty much all we've kind of been watching. I will say that this is how you can tell my stress level has been high. We started watching Animal Crossing content again. And so, we've been subscribed to the channel Nintendo Talk for a while. He was pretty prominent when Animal Crossing content was out and prominent. Once Animal Crossing had, come out, New Horizons, he was one of those people that was making a lot of content that came up on my feed, and we've been watching his Animal Crossing content. But I've kind of gotten out of watching, just because, there's a lot of things to watch. We're not really playing Animal Crossing right now, and I've been playing a lot more Genshin Impact. But Nintendo Talk does, from time to time, do different types of Animal Crossing like games or challenges to kind of like freshen up the Animal Crossing playing experience for people, to like help them to continue to play the game. And this particular one that he's doing right now is called Animal Crossing RPG. There's all these rules, and you've got to choose a type, and then you've got to complete the challenges and things. It's super interesting. I'm having a great time watching him do that challenge. I've been wanting to get back to my Animal Crossing Islands for a bit, but I just think that if I do that, it's going to be something that I'm going to want to like do every day again, and I just don't have that type of time right now. And so I make up for it by watching other people play Animal Crossing. There's actually kind of been a resurgence of people like restarting their islands. Another one of the creators we were watching when Animal Crossing was big has restarted his island. Also, he's not doing the RPG challenge, but he's just like restarting in the view of somebody who may have picked up Animal Crossing New Horizons for the first time. Now, because back when we started playing Animal Crossing, we would like wait for updates, and there would be other things that would happen. But now, as somebody who might have picked up the game for the first time today, they have everything available to them already. So he's kind of approaching his play experience from that point of view. His channel is Ryan FTW, and we really enjoy his content as well. And we've been watching him play on a new island and set up and all of that, and it's just been really, really nice. I find that Animal Crossing as a game to watch is really relaxing. I enjoy seeing all of the characters. I enjoy the music of Animal Crossing, and that music that they play for you at the very beginning when you first get to the island is not a music that you ever really hear again once you start progressing your island. And so it was really, really nice to revisit those songs and that feeling of just like newness at the beginning of the game again. And yeah, it's been fun. I really, really am enjoying revisiting Animal Crossing content. And so, yeah, that's pretty much all we've been up to lately. So let me know down in the comments below what you've been up to, what you've been reading, what you've been watching, what you've been working on. Do you enjoy working cabled projects? Or are you working on one? I would really love to know. And let me know, like I said, what your favorite type of cable needle is. Or do you not use a cable needle? I still am not really comfortable cabling without a cable needle. Like I can do 1x1 cable without, but I can't do anything more than that. My fingers are just like either too big, or I just don't have the dexterity to be able to do that without the cable needle. And I really don't mind the cable needle, but anyway, let me know what your favorite cable needle is, or cabling style, or if you don't use a cable needle, I'd really love to know. Are you getting those fall vibes yet? Because I'm not. It's still very much summer here. But if nothing else, and you'd just like to let me know that you were here, if you could leave me some kind of food type emoji for like Delicious in Dungeon, because they're always making food in that series, I'd really appreciate it, and it would really help me out, and that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy. And until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.